think it has been a fascinating morning with some very interesting conversations. And I think I've been given a stellar panel as well to talk about what's been the journey so far and what's the journey looking forward. I think as we get into this panel today, we are all in a, as I've sensed from the morning, a fairly buoyant mood. We've had a fantastic month for the business. It's been good going, but it wasn't so for the last 18 months. We've all seen a lot of ups and downs. We've seen the change as it has moved through the business. So let me start really with, asking that, of saying what has been your journey over the last 18 months, and what are the big learnings that we are taking out of this, we are taking away from this business. And maybe Abhishek, you would like to start, given that you possibly had a category that was on the positive side of the business, right? Given that we've had several conversations about here, people not standing up to make sure, because they are probably wearing one of your clothing items under their suits. So much there.
Yes, I hope I'm audible. I think Vishak and I joined digitally to prove that physical and digital can actually happen. And I hope this works for this meeting too. Well, you're absolutely right. Our category did go through some positive trends, which has acted in our favor. But if I go back in time, we were all, taken aback when COVID struck and the lockdowns happened. I think it's now seems to be a long way down. But a lot of things have fundamentally changed. Some of them you mentioned. I think businesses have realized that speed, nimbleness, flexibility, things that we probably did not focus on in the past, especially in our industry of fashion, which has long life cycles of product creation to reaching it to the consumer. And we have all had to relook at our businesses. But I would say that if you take the challenge that we all went through, the second wave was extremely, I think, virulent for our teams. A lot of us lost team members. There was so much of challenge around. But in the midst of all this, to carry forward business, because the business has to go on, I think required leadership and everyone to really stand up. But one of the things that I really take forward, which I think has become extremely important in such a dynamic environment, is that empathetic leadership at the core of whatever we do has become critical for all industries and all companies. And that's one of the big takeaways that I have had over the last 18 months.
Excellent. Rahul, you're in the same category. So from your standpoint, how has it been?
So, second with what Abhishek mentioned, one of the key learnings that we've have seen is in the last 18 months, people have become so important. There were days when we were all sitting at home or operating in a constraint of room, but our store staffs were operating the stores, and honestly, it was a time when I really felt that, these guys have guts more than me. So I think respecting those people actually became a very important thing. While a lot of other things happened, your business planning, your product life cycle planning, supply chain planning, negotiation with malls, and all those things were happening. But I think the guy standing at the front level, servicing the customer with mask on, glass, the shield, it was really touching. And I think that valuing people became one of the most important learning during this time.
Excellent. Very interesting and very relatable. Right? You could think about that every time you walked into a retail store. Interesting. Vineet, you as Asra, looking at it from the lens of a fashion category, Ubli, how was the last 18 months for you, and what did you pick out?
So I think I second what Rahul and Abhishek had said. the 18 months have been tough, but there's been a lot of learnings. I think fundamentally few things have changed, and I'll not repeat what they have said because they were the most important part of it. From finding stocks and running stores, we were trying to find vaccines. So it was a very different times, and I think we are very fortunate, and I think that we are in India where we could get so many people vaccinated. Today, almost 99% of our employees are double vaccinated. So I think it's a big achievement. When I look at our counterparts in Europe, some of them have not even got a single vaccine. But I think the biggest challenge, I think, was that how could we be very fluid and keep reworking, because this kind of situation was something which we are not used to or we couldn't forecast. You do business continuity, but you never realize when business will shut 100% and then suddenly you don't know when it will open again also. So I think it was a lot of requirement of the leadership to be visible in the organization, and I think take charge. I think this was a time when people wanted to see leadership in the forefront and being able to support. I think I'm very glad that I can share that we did not let a single person go in our organization during the first pandemic and the second pandemic. And I think it took us a lot of guts to do it. A lot of hard calls had to be taken, but not losing people that time was the most critical, because protecting them, their families through the medical thing was very, very important for us. But I think the other thing that we've learned is that these are times when you can actually correct many things. When your flow of the business, a lot of inefficiencies are ignored. But when you have a hard stop like this, then you start to reevaluate everything. You start to reevaluate your business model. You have to reevaluate your everything. And I think that's given us a lot of positivity. I will say it was expensive. COVID was very expensive, but the learnings that have come from COVID, we have come out stronger as an organization. We've come out stronger as business. Our brands are stronger today. And I can only, as I was sharing with you when we were at the speaker lounge, we've opened 5 new businesses during the pandemic. I think, so it gave us the time to rethink what we were doing, though it was expensive, but I think stronger companies will have become stronger because they've started to focus on fundamentals. A lot of inefficiencies have been removed, and I think it was a good hard stop for almost every business. And I think you will hear from others also what they've done, but there are a lot of efficiencies that we have achieved. And I think one fundamental thing that I think has come out is you want to be in a business of making money. End of the day, a lot of companies who are not making money have actually not been, you'll not see them now. So if you are not making money, it is become, so all those business models have got challenged, and I think that's a good part to the business. Hard luck to people who could not survive it, but I think it's a good base correction in the industry.
Interesting. So I think human leadership, lots of time. It was called the great pause at the beginning, lots of time to rethink and reflect. Very interesting. Vishak, you're in business. You probably had consumption occasions dropping off for a lot of formal categories of yours, and then going back. How do you see the last 18 months and the change?
Okay, thanks for that. Survive, revive, grow. And we thought that, look, ab ho gaya and that's it. And then it was survive 2.0, revive 2.0, and then grow 2.0. So we've actually been through 2 cycles of this. And there is also this doodh ka jala chhach bhi phuk phuk ke pita hai. So we went through that also, where, after wave 1, one was extra cautious about how much capacity, how much of this growth to pay heed to, how much of it to go easy on, and so on. So it's been, like everybody has said before, a lot of time for reinvention, introspection, and so on. I would say if there is one large theme, and Vineet touched upon it, it's about karma. I think this was also a time for businesses, organizations, leaders, individuals to look at what's good karma. Taking care of people. And I would say with equal pride, we also did not lay off even one person in our organization in either wave 1 or wave 2. We took salary cuts, we bore the brunt of it together, but we took care of that. I learned to pronounce words like tocilizumab and remdesivir. We knew ambulance numbers, we knew hospital numbers, we chased at a peak some 650 COVID positive people that we took care of at one point of time in May. So I think it all boils down to good karma, taking care of people, taking care of, including business partners, and like Vineet said, strong organizations, actually strong relationships took care of each other. And that was another useful uh, piece of, realization for a lot of people on how strong relationships can support each other. And of course, it also gave tremendous opportunity to right a lot of wrongs of the industry. For example, we as a business, we were able to get out of this end of season sales cycle. And I think that's an important part of, saying end of EOSS. Or likewise, we were able to strengthen our 12 season model. It all came out of a very strong necessity of being extremely nimble and agile during this period. But I think, yes, so these are some of the learnings that we've been able to take from these 18 months.
Very interesting. Thanks, Raj, for that. So I think you all strengthened my belief in the human bond being probably the most crucial learning from this entire piece. Right? Devang, coming over to you, I think you probably had the toughest category of the lot, right? Complete shutdown. Still, there is, cinemas have reopened, but you've seen probably some of the toughest times that for your business. Very interested to hear what were your learnings, right? How has the last 18 months been, and what have you guys figured?
Right, thank you. So, like any other businesses, the learning was obvious, but it took us a couple of months to see where the learnings are. Unfortunately for us, what content we have to exhibit is something that we don't control. So when the content is not in your control, you don't know, what is coming in your way. We took a pause. We decided, let's understand where is it going. There were a lot of questions on online versus offline, etc., etc. But we said, let's build our pillars. The first pillar for us is we were the first one to close, last one to open. Every time in any state, even if few COVID cases goes up, the first instruction comes is cinema band kar do. So those were the time that we had seen starting from one state to another and spreading across. We had to liaise with government to make sure that, okay, we are taking the right precaution. Cinema is not the most dangerous place to go even during the COVID period. The second pillar for us, which we had to manage, was liaising with our content owner, because the content owner always have an option to explore the various options of exploiting their revenues. Then once the content owners are done, we go to the mall owners and then make them understand how badly the cinema industry is hit. Fortunately for us, all three pillars reacted quite positively. They understood the situation. There was a lot of learning that we took during the lockdown on new normal. And as an example of new normal is, initially we had one person specialized for each job at the back end. What we decided is when our consumer comes back, we don't want them to realize there's something has changed. We want their experience. What cinemas are known for, what Cinepolis is known for, is to make them realize that their experience have only improved. We laid down new SOPs, we laid down the new learning. But a small example, if it's a projector, if you want to switch on a projector, we had a dedicated projector operator who comes in the morning, switches on in the morning, and then during the day, he just looks and observes at the projector whether it is running smoothly. Now, the new normal is the cinema unit head itself. He'll go and switch on the projector. It's those kind of processes, and this is just one example, is something that we laid down. So as at the back end, we've improved on the processes. Efficiencies have been built, keeping in mind people first approach. And the last pillar of consumer, we were always clear that for us, coming back is one blockbuster away. While we are first one to close, last one to open, but one blockbuster will do the trick. And we are happy to announce that with Suryavanshi and Eternal releasing on Diwali, we are almost 110% of pre-COVID level, even with reduced number of screen. Unfortunately, during the pandemic, the mantra was to survive. I mean, many of them came up with the slogan "Jaan hai, Jahan hai," etc. But even for businesses, it was same that we had to survive through the business. India is way under screen in terms of number of screen per million population compared to any other emerging market. Even in that 20% of the screens, approximate 2,000 screens shut down. But overall business for movie did not impact. People who survived through, sailed through, is now going to mint on the business. And we see that with the new normal learning, this is only going to grow up from what we have seen in Diwali.
Excellent. I think that's great to hear, and I think this buoyancy is clearly infectious. So I think we'll build through. But I think the question that we were reflecting on before, and I think all on our minds, is that will this buoyancy last? Is it really some sort of revenge shopping? Is it consumers coming back because they are starved for options for a while? So I think the question really that I want, before I talk about from a business model standpoint or the back end and how we are changing, I think the question each of you is really saying that what are some of the consumer behaviors, right, that you're seeing will possibly stick into the future, and what are pieces that you feel are temporary, they will fall off, and it's probably a passing phase of sorts. So maybe Abhishek, I can start you again of what you're seeing. And what are some of the behaviors that you believe are truly sticky and seeing them going into the future as a change?
Well, some of the changes are positive and would stick on. I would say things like consumers adopting and endorsing digital is habit forming. Today we all, and a lot of, even older customers, people who are even 60 and beyond, have got used to digital platforms for convenience. People order on a big basket, get things delivered on an Instamart or a Swiggy, and shop on e-commerce platforms. I think a lot of these are habit forming, and hence I believe this will continue. People also discover products online today, and this has only got hastened with COVID as people stayed indoors. I think this is going to stay. Hopefully for our industry, focus on health and wellness that we are seeing all across. I think that across different tiers of cities, across genders, kids taking care of their health and wellness, both physical and mental. And at least there is an orientation or high levels of orientation towards that. Hopefully that stays, not just for our industry, but also for the nation, I guess. I think some of these things will change. I think business models have to continue to evolve because of these changes. Things that would not continue, it's very difficult to say, but I think, for example, in offline bricks and mortar shopping, targeted shopping where people come in, individuals coming in, just buying a product and leaving. Hopefully that will not last, because shopping will get back, offline shopping will get back to an experience, and people would see that as a part of their life's entertainment. And that's already coming back, as we could see in the festive season. And also, community pop-up stores for convenience that has happened during just post-lockdowns. I think those will not be required anymore, because people would go to shopping centers and malls and high streets to shop. So these are some of the things that I can see that was very temporary. But I think a lot of the ways of consuming product through discovering online, buying offline, or discovering offline, buying online, and all of this is going to become like a habit for the consumer.
Interesting. So a changed digital footprint enlarged, but the journey will remain, the physical will come back. Interesting. Rahul, any thoughts from you?
I think I think some of the changes that will happen is, I don't know how many of you still continue to, or all of us rather, not to still continue to make the Dologna coffee, which was a trend during lockdown. I think all of that has kind of reduced. But on a larger level, consumption on on digital has increased for sure. There's a lot of discovery that is happening on digital level, and then transactions happening online, offline. So all that will continue. And honestly speaking, this is evolving. There is no right format to say that this will stay and this will not stay. It's evolving. Things are evolving much faster than what we are also expecting. Technology, the way it is moving faster, I think we should probably be ready to expect a large amount of change coming in the way consumers are going to consume. Having said that, offline retail, online retail, consumer transcending between these two formats is something that is going to continue for a long period of time. What I used to consume offline during COVID moved online. When things got better, I moved back to offline. Now these are things that are happening. All of us are going through that learning. All of us are going through that experience. So I think we have to be watchful. Trends are changing fast, and it's not that something will continue all throughout. It's going to evolve. That's the way we look at it.
Interesting. Rahul. Vishak, thoughts?
Okay, I think some of the obvious ones I'm not going to repeat, and that's relevant for all of us, things which have changed in terms of digital, wellness, and so on and so forth. There's one new sticky change, which I think all of us will have to recognize, and in fact, we should change it even faster, which is true sustainability. I think it's enough of greenwashing. There are brands which have done that globally. We should tell them, stop. It's time that we actually did stuff which is true sustainability, which reduces the negative impact and at some stage hopefully becomes neutral in terms of impact to the ecosystem. That's going to be a very, and I would probably say we should almost use this as a trigger event to create that change. And between us in this industry today, if all of us take this pledge that we will actually accelerate all the things that we need to do from a sustainability point of view, true sustainability, not the ones which you put post.
Right. We seem to have lost Vishak. Vineet, any further thoughts from you?
I think I second what Vishak said on sustainability. I think it's a true agenda. A lot of consumers are very aware. This pandemic has also taught us that we can't take nature and the world for granted, and we need to. And I think a lot of brands have started the journey. Those who have not should start the journey soon. This is no more going to be about. Okay, it's one of the things to do. I think it is one of the things that one must do now. Whether it will bring additional sales, I don't know about that, but I think it's an agenda on globally across brands. I think the other trend that we've, and I'll go back to this, while digital is right, but I think I said this before also, we are seeing fantastic demand on brick and mortar. India especially, where experience matters a lot. Shopping is a celebration, okay? It's like going out and partying, it's like, that's why shopping is. So I think Rahul said that it's a therapy. I think that's how it is, and it's going to remain strong. And we are seeing huge demand back at the brick and mortar stores. So I think stronger brands have become stronger, as I said before. Similarly, a lot of strong retail brands have become strong online brands. Very, very few cases, except Nykaa, that you will see, which is an online brand becoming, but that's not true in the major part of it. So those of people who are trying to, it purely depends on their business model. If you're just looking for a short-time valuation, then it's fine. But I think retail is here to stay. especially in our country. Also, it's very important. Also, the supply chain in our country is not as evolved as how we see in Europe and US, where you can get deliveries in few hours. So retail will remain as much near we can go to the consumer, and we can already see some demand in tier 2, tier 3, which is really well, and I think that's where people should concentrate. The other thing which I think a lot of focused consumers are coming to the stores, and it's just not people just walking in. So I think the productivity levels in the stores have improved, which is a good sign. How can you work around that? How can you also make that experience of customer much worthful is more important now to do. And I think digital will also play a part of that. So I think those are a few learnings that we've seen in the post the pandemic.
Interesting. So digital is big, physical is big, health and wellness, sustainability. Devang, any additional pieces that you are seeing from a consumer standpoint?
I think most of the points are covered. I mean, one important piece that we've realized, and it's too early for us to comment, but unlike many other businesses, our business just started from Diwali, and even in the first week, what we realize, and this is more on consumption, human are social in nature, and we saw that with one blockbuster, people are coming back. We will see people are going to come back, and with the lineup that we have of the movies, one after another, the demand and the research that we've done from
Recording in progress.
demand and the research that we've done clearly indicates that the trend is only going to go up from here now. One important piece that we realized during the entire coming back to cinemas are, value for people. I think initially one of the panel did touch upon the value for people, but we are realizing the consumer, when they are coming back, they are smart in choosing where they are going and what are they experiencing compared to what they've experienced pre-COVID. The demand for people have only gone higher. There are many employees that we've seen, the people who have initially were there living here and working in some other place, now have gone back to the hometown. Now to pull them back in, and they're feeling more convenient to stay where they are. They're saving more money. They want to live there, and which, if we don't address it right, may end up compromising the consumer experience. So while the answer is clear that people want to come back, but it is also very clear that they don't want to compromise their experience. In fact, it has to only go one level up. And the entire energy is moving towards that direction, and we were quite confident that once you give the right experience, the quality will only improve, and the results are seen with, in our case, not only the footfall that come to the cinema, but also the F&B spend. Suddenly, after 18 months, we are realizing that, okay, we haven't made pricing correction, and the revenues which we may expect on a per head basis are still the same as that of 2019. And for 2022, when you're making a budget, realizing you've gone through 3 inflation and you need to correct that. So, on big scheme of thing, not compromising on consumer experience is the mantra going forward, and how do we up the game is going to be the way forward.
Interesting. So there is almost 5 or 6 things I heard from you, right? Some of these are accelerating trends, some of these are somewhat new, like reverse migration, but clearly health and wellness accelerating as a trend, grown dramatically. Digital accelerating as a trend, grown dramatically. Physical has come back, expected to stay, built through. Reverse migration, really something that we are seeing more probably for the first time, and the answer is somewhere in between probably of what will migrate and what will stick back. I think just looking at these and things you spoke about, I think the big question is that as you look forward, right, you've spent the last 18 months repairing, reviving the business to some extent. As you look forward to growth, as you look forward to future-proof your business, right, where are the investments going to go now? What are the parts of the business model that you feel will need to change? What are capabilities that you think will need to change? What are the places where investments will have to be disproportionately allocated into the future to make sure that the businesses, continues to grow and grow profitably? So maybe I can start, Vineet, with you.
I think I can say for myself and not for others, but I think for surely we are putting a lot of energy on brick and mortar. We are expanding stores. We have increased the sizes of the store. I think one thing that definitely consumers have got registered is this space requirement and it's no more those smaller stores where you can cramp up people. So I think that has definitely changed globally, and we are expanding and making stores bigger. We are expanding into many more markets. So I think brick and mortar, the investments remain and are actually getting accelerated. Online continuous investments have been done before pandemic also, and we are continuously doing now also. I think Omni that was being spoken earlier was more kind of that people are speaking but not doing, but I think now it's here. I think investments in terms of technology to ensure that stock visibility, availability is there and you're able to service that is definitely another investment that you have to do. The other thing I think is investment into people. I think talent in India, we actually have a crunch of good talent in this country. I think I'm sure everyone in this panel will agree. So I think investing into people to grow talent internally is far more important now than ever. Because if the space is going to remain like this, and it might taper down a little bit because currently this could be pent up and share of the wallet has moved. But there's going to be a dearth of good talent. I think you were saying from Cinepolis perspective also that they're facing issues with F&B, which is the biggest impacted industry today, and still you can't get good people. So imagine industries which are not impacted so badly. So I think investment into people is going to be a very large agenda for everyone and should be, and so it is for us.
Interesting. Thanks. So brick and mortar, expansion, people, right. Vishak, would you like to explain?
On the same question, where are we investing?
So the question.
Okay.
Yeah, can you hear you, Vishak? Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I think just repeating the question for your benefit, I think idea was to say, how do you future-proof the business from today, right? Where are the investments going? What are the capabilities? What is it that you're looking to build forward as you go into the future?
Perfect. And again, I'll not repeat what some of the earlier people said, but clearly ability to be more nimble and hence respond with much smaller cycle times through better digital initiatives through better supply chain initiatives, etc., is going to be clearly one big thrust for us. We've already moved to a 12-season model, and we'll only have to see how we keep getting faster and faster at understanding consumer trends and being able to provide product solutions for that. That's clearly one set of initiatives. Second is also in terms of the changing needs of consumers. Pre-pandemic, formal wear to office, wedding clothes, travel wear, party wear. These were the four mainstays of our business. From that to today, when the sequence has changed and health and wellness is a new category, everyday casuals and home lounging wear another category, athleisure another category. So the ability to seek, and this will also keep changing. In fact, in this festival season, we also saw a huge uptick in wedding lines, etc. We will have to keep changing, keep all investments to be able to meet consumer needs is going to be vital. Investment into brands and investments in brands in 2021 is even more different and difficult than in the past. It's an extremely cluttered media space to be able to be relevant to consumers in that through both consumer experiences in stores and with product, as well as through brand building exercises, is going to be a vital piece. For us on talent, I think our key challenges are to constantly keep scaling up. I think we're very proud of the talent pool that we've got in the organization. And yet we find that to scale up faster is a huge challenge as we want to grow much faster than what we are, in that sense, we have an infrastructure for today. So all of these are going to be big priorities. We're also looking at how we can to be more nimble, agile, how we can vertically integrate even more so that we are able to handle a much larger part of the entire supply chain.
Interesting. And I'll be going to say, I mean, you spoke about the assortment getting, changing and becoming distinct as you're going. The last 18 months has also seen significantly faster design to shelf cycles to get some of these on. Do you think that will remain? Do you think the future of the business will look at significantly shorter design to shelf cycles? I think we seem to have lost the connection.
Of surprising us, and clearly that is one thing that we can be sure of. But what we do know is that trends are much faster changing now than ever before. Probably the social media impact is responsible for that. Things do change much faster now than ever before. So yes, my sense is, and this has got not much to do with the pandemic, but even otherwise, the pace of change of trends is faster than ever before.
Got it. Rahul, looking at business, what would you say are the future-proof pieces?
So some of the things I echo with Vineet. That's what we are doing in terms of expanding stores. That's where the investments are going. Technology is where the investments are going. One major area that our investments are going is actually on the entire supply chain planning, because today's situation is so different, and with more focus on coming on direct to consumer. The entire supply chain planning is a major thrust right now, and obviously couple that with technology. Manpower, people, getting the right people, those are things that are ongoing challenges, and I hope at some time we are able to overcome that. But largely, at this point of time, I think the way India has recovered, and the way we are seeing the sales that are happening across during the Diwali period, we do expect that there could be some amount of normalization that will come in. However, I think we are as a country poised for a great growth journey, and as organization, that's where our focus is, to be ready for that growth that is going to come in. So, investments have to move across various functions, various spectrum of activities, but supply chain is going to be a major one.
Excellent, interesting. Abhishek, your thoughts?
Look, I think investments on what we do will change and evolve over seasons, and as we all discussed, things are dynamic. One thing is very clear: the way our brand is today connecting with the consumers, our category. We discussed about sports and fitness growing in this market. We spoke about athleisure being a fashion trend, and we believe that this will continue. So we will definitely over-invest in India. That is given. Now, given all these upticks that we are seeing in our category, there are two things that we will focus on, which will be the result of all the investments that we do, is experience and convenience for our consumers. I think for us, that's the outcome of all the investments that we do. And it's the same as everybody else. It's supply chain, it's technology, it's people. But I think we will focus a lot. We will continue to focus a lot on culture, because I think it's the culture of the organization which can help making these investments to the company. So I think having the culture of speed, nimbleness, empathy, and all that we spoke about. So for me, the way I look at it is, this is the right time for us as a company to invest in India, and we need to finally ensure that our consumers get the right experience and have convenience. And that can only happen if you have the right culture going, which is future thinking, or ever evolving and quick and fast.
Interesting. So, thanks, Abhishek. I think harvesting growth clearly in a significant way. Devang, looking at.
No, I guess as most of them is covered, I mean, just to give a perspective about, I mean, Cinepolis operates in about 19 countries, and India took the second lockdown quite harsh for cinema industry, but overall, what we see is that the numbers are coming back. Uh, for Cinepolis especially, out of 19 countries, India remains like #1 country to invest in. It's the #1 priority. We see India is largely under screen. There are more and more organized malls which are coming in, and unfortunately with this COVID, a lot of standalone mom and pop stores had to take a shutdown. As I've told, 20% of the cinema screens got shut down during this COVID period, but the organized players will continue to grow, and we see clearly India is #1 priority, and the only point which I see is to wait, see for a couple of months how the trend and consumer behavior is moving. We have just seen 1 week post-COVID for us to get back to the normal business. Maybe in a couple of months we'll iron out the entire expansion strategy, but we definitely see as the #1 priority amongst the world that we are operating.
Interesting. Thank you. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I think for that interesting conversation. I think in the interest of time, I'll be nice to say clearly you are seeing consumer changes, but you're seeing it both on digital and physical. Money will go both places. A lot will go into handling or harvesting the growth, whether it's into supply chain, whether it's into technology, whether it's into building, and also into talent in a significant way. And the last piece possibly is just managing the uncertainty, because I think like if you're saying there is visibility required, things are still fairly uncertain, consumers are evolving, technology is evolving, will continue to build through, and to make sure for that there is enough that needs to be required, both from a technology as well as from a visibility lens to be built in and through. So I think in the interest of time, I'll probably just take 1 or 2 questions from the audience and build through. Yes?
Hello. Hi. So, one of the buzzwords for the last couple of years has been this whole experience, in-store experience. So, I actually would like to ask any of the panelists to give their opinion on what exactly is this investment in experience that a retailer can do for in-store, which will have the highest impact, and not just for 5 stores, for hundreds of stores. I'm sure it's probably all of it. There's CapEx, there's people, there's the whole digital bit. But if you all can share from your experience some of the things that for the experience was invested in, and then it really paid off and works in this new world today.
Well, experience is a term that gets very easily used. Okay, so the way we look at it is that how can you make the entire journey easy for a consumer to transact? Now, whether it is choosing the product to, trying out the product, to transacting the product and leaving. So there are various elements that come, get involved in this. One is the product, second is the people. When I say product, there's display, information on the product. Can we make it more easily accessible because a lot of times, especially in our category where there are products which have some special technical, what's the right word? I'm just not getting technical understanding, which a lot of time, the staff kind of misses out. So can we get more of those digitally enabled? So now this entire experience, if we can make it as simpler, as easier, and as enjoyable as possible is what the journey should be. So there is no right answer for that. It's always going to be an evolving thing, because what you try and implement today in 5 stores, by the time you reach the 100th store, the things have changed. Okay, so it's an ongoing exercise and it's an investment. Like, for example, a lot of us have been seeing those videos of an Amazon store in US where, you just walk in, you do the whole transaction, you walk out, everything is so seamless. Now, that's a wow feeling when you see it now. And you know, a lot of us would also inspire to do something like that. But at the end of the day, by the time you finish doing that, there's already something else come up. So it's an ongoing process.
Can I add to that also? I think in fashion, the biggest experience you can give consumer is availability. Right stock, right time available, right? Because sizes are a big challenge. Our product line has so many SKUs. So I think how you spend technology and your people's understanding of each market and how you are able to bring that product availability today. And I think with Omni, with Endless Aisle and with ship from stores and others, all that you can actually enhance the experience of the consumer and make his time more fruitful in the store in selecting more product and maybe able to sell more. I think that is the experience that we are talking about.
Great. I think thank you. With that, we'll probably close here in this time. Thank you again, gentlemen, for a very fascinating and honest conversation. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you.